Why, hello there. It is Paula Weston, your favorite English 101 teacher of the moment. Um, Recording this. I know it's really weird to have my disembodied voice over a PowerPoint slideshow, which is what you're going to get. Um, but I wanted to go through this with you as we begin our research project, which is going to take up the remainder of the semester. I am hoping that you are all well. I am, like you, very concerned about what's going on. A little nervous about transitioning to an online only platform after we've had half a semester in a face to face classroom. I promise you, as I have been promising all along, that I will do all I can to help you succeed this semester. And of course, you can email me with any concerns that you have. That little voice you hear in the background is one of my cats, Bonnie, who is clamoring for attention right now. And I apologize for that. But that's kind of the way it works. So you're going to be doing a research project that will result in two separate documents. One is an annotated bibliography, and the instructions for that are online on Blackboard. And the other is Essay 3, which is a research essay, and that will be made clear to you. The instructions for that will be available to you on April 6th. You will use the same research for both. I know that some of you have experience doing academic research and some of you do not. Most of you probably don't have any research specifically at Mott using the Mott library databases, or maybe you do have, but probably some limited research. And so, and compounding that problem, of course, is that we pretty much have to do almost everything remotely. Uh, so there are there are some obstacles, perhaps some challenges, maybe, to getting the research done, but I promise that I will do all I can to help you through it. So what you're seeing here is the first screen. It's academic research, locating and using source material to contribute to the discussion of a topic that interests us. And that this PowerPoint has also been loaded under the PowerPoints link for you to look at if you'd like to. So what is academic research? What do we mean when we use the phrase academic research? It's designed to contribute to an ongoing conversation about a subject, um, any subject that we discuss in academic settings. And academic research generates new ideas about a subject, provides new perspectives, and even people who are not particularly experienced in researching, who are new to the field of research, can still bring something to this ongoing conversation. And so, especially since we are beginning researchers in English 101 and we are not yet experts in our fields, we rely on research to help provide credibility and to inform our perspective about a topic, and so that we sound both credible and knowledgeable, and also hopefully interesting as well. Academic research isn't limited only to sources that come from the academic world. It's not just for really hard to access, thick and chewy sources full of data and jargon that you're not used to. It's not really, I mean, there is academic research that is like that, of course, and I'm sure that you've encountered it, but sources come from a variety of places like websites, newspapers, documentaries, interviews. You can do your own research, for example, your own sort of surveying and empirical research out in the world. And all of these things can help contribute to academic research. It's really how you use it in the end. The important thing is that your sources are credible, that you're using your sources in an ethical, academically acceptable way. Also, that you're providing source information to your audience in a format in which they expect to receive it, right? So we've talked about that an awful lot, about giving your audience what it needs. And one of the things that your audience needs is not only your credibility based on your research, but your audience needs to receive your information in a way that is consistent with what it expects. So how do we determine a source's credibility? I think this can be really tricky. We live in this information age and we are constantly bombarded with information. It's excellent in so many ways. There's so much knowledge that's available to us. There's so much that's sort of readily available and almost instantly available. And even old people like me sometimes forget what it was like not to have knowledge at your fingertips, to be able to look it right up on the phone. And that's really great, having all of that right there. But the widespread availability of knowledge is something that also overwhelms us, giving us so many choices that we don't know where to find the right information or how to determine whether the information we are receiving is, in fact, credible. So, we also live in a time when public voices are questioning the credibility of sources, even expert sources. When those sources don't say things that people like to hear, we run the risk of becoming immune to truth and credibility just because we don't agree with what we're hearing, because we filter things through our own personal biases without critical thinking, right? Without thinking critically. So we are all like this, though. I mean, I'm not virtue signaling here. I'm not telling you that, um, some people are better than others. What I'm saying is that most of us filter our what we encounter through our own personal biases, and this is a natural thing. It's very difficult to encounter a source that challenges what you believe and to believe that source, right? We tend to believe people who think like we do. That can be problematic, though. And so in academia, you want to try to keep an open mind about things. And additionally, because so much of what we find online looks alike, we've lost some of the visual clues that we've been able to rely upon in the past to differentiate between types of sources, right? That can be challenging too. So, fortunately, there are many ways to determine the credibility of sources, even for beginning researchers. One way to do so is to trust the experts on the matter, such as reference and research librarians. In his 2019 book, Fake News, Propaganda, and Plain Old Lies, How to Find Trustworthy Information in the Digital Age, academic librarian Donald A. Barkley gives us 9 questions we should ask when considering the credibility of a source. So the first thing you need to ask is, who created the information, right? Do you know anything about this person? What is this person's background, right? What is this person's agenda, right? Who created the information? And then how can that inform you about the information's credibility? And then who published the information? Was it published by a reputable news outlet? Was it published by an academic journal? Was it published by an organization, a government website, an educational website? Is it published by somebody who wants to make some money off of you? Who published the information and what agenda did they have? And then what comes after the headline or title? Right? Is there other information there that can somehow provide the context for the information that you're receiving? What sources are cited in a source that you encounter? Do they have, does the source have its own research cited? It doesn't have to come with a works cited page or a references page. It can be like we saw in the newspaper articles that we read, 2 of the newspaper articles that we read for essay 2. It can be somebody who is writing and then references somebody else's information. So what sources are cited? How old is the information? That can be surprisingly relevant, especially in the age of technology, as information changes so quickly, information is updated so quickly, right? For example, let's look at what's going on right now with the COVID-19 virus, the coronavirus. Information that we get today is sometimes more relevant than information that we got yesterday, for example. Information from 2 weeks ago now seems so old, right? So you're researching something, and say you're looking at something that happened where you live, for example. If it's really important for you to understand what's happening right now, a zoning variance, for example, you're going to need the most current information available, right? If it's important for you to understand how something developed, maybe you're going to need something that is older. A good rule to live by in terms of academic research is the more recent, probably the more relevant. So think about that too. And what do others think of the information? That's question number 6 here. That's actually quite important. The kind of the kind of conversation that happens surrounding information doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? There's when we research to contribute to the ongoing conversation about a topic, it really is a conversation. And a lot of times there are other experts that can weigh in on the information as well. What do other people think about that information? That's something to consider about the credibility of your source. Also, is the information a primary or a secondary source? So a primary source is the thing itself. A secondary source is something that analyzes the thing itself. So factual information about data, for example, about COVID-19 that's coming out, that would be a primary source. People who are analyzing that data and trying to interpret it, those would be secondary sources. Both are equally credible in many circumstances. I'm not saying that one is more credible than the other, but um, they are very different kinds of sources. And sometimes people analyze data and bend data to how do I put this? To support a foregone conclusion. They come across data and they or information and they interpret it only in a way that supports something that they think. They're never challenged by it. So you have to consider, is this primary or secondary source? Number 8, is the information a joke? Now I know that seems really like an odd question, but there is a lot of satire out there, and you have to take that into account about whether or not the information is intended to be factual and real or sincere, or if it's supposed to be something that entertains, right? And then finally, number 9, is the information different from anything you have ever seen? If it is, then you really have to check the source, because if it's different from anything you've ever seen, you can't accept it at face value. It is true that there is groundbreaking information and new ideas that are presented daily, but if it's something that is so brand new that you've never heard of it before, then you really have to check that source of that information to determine its credibility. Okay, so this semester you're going to have to use the Mott Library databases in order to complete your research assignment. And you will be finding 3 sources from the Mott databases, a minimum of 3 sources from the Mott Library databases, in order to be able to put together your annotated bibliography. And I know that some of you are familiar with the Mott Library databases, some of you are not. So we're going to go through this. So the Mott Library databases are collections of sources maintained in large online files. You can access them remotely, meaning you're not on campus, at home, or in another location that is not on campus, but you will need your 14-digit number above the barcode on your Mott ID to do so. And there it is, right there. That's what the ID looks like. And your 14-digit number right there, right? So if you have an ID, that's where that 14-digit number is. What if you don't have a Mott ID? If you don't have a Mott ID and need a 14-digit number to access the Mott Library's databases off campus, you need to contact the Mott Library as soon as you can. Bear in mind that for as long as Mott is not offering classes face-to-face, you will not be able to get into the Mott Library. You can call the library. There are librarians there during business hours. So I would call and find out what the hours are for this little interlude that we have here. But you can't actually go into the library, right? So you're going to have to call. I would call and get the directory and hours, and then call the reference desk. That's the number right here, 762-0411, and tell them that you don't have your Mott ID or you don't have a 14-digit number, and that you need to use the databases in order to complete your research for this semester, and they will help you out. So how do we get to the Mott Library databases? You can reach the Mott Library from the main page, the Mott Library's website, from the main page of the Mott Community College website. So after you get there, you'll click on a few things to find the databases that you need. So scroll to the bottom of the mcc.edu page and click on the Mott Library link. In the middle of the next page, click on the link that says search our most popular databases. And there it is. It says find online resources, search our most popular databases. That link cracks me up because it sounds like it's trying to sell you something. Hey, search our most popular databases. It's funny, to me anyway, right? Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm going backwards. There we go. All right, so then on the next page, click on any of the general databases. The general databases include Academic Search Complete, JSTOR, and EBSCO OneSearch. So you want to click on any one of those because those are the ones that will give you the kinds of results that you need for our purposes for English 101. If you are working anywhere but the Mott campus, you'll get this screen next and you'll have to sign in. That's the reason why you need that 14-digit code, that number, and it's the reason why if you don't have it, you're going to have to get it and get it quick. What happens next? Well, after you log in, you explore the databases for the kinds of sources on the topic that you're researching. I recommend EBSCO OneSearch as a starting point if you're unfamiliar with using the Mott Library databases, because EBSCO OneSearch is this meta database that contains a list of other databases that you can choose from. So in the EBSCO OneSearch, the one I tell students to use is the Academic Search Complete. It's the first one at the top of the page because it can lead you to full text of a specific kind of source that you need from a scholarly peer-reviewed journal. And it will help you there. JSTOR can also help you do that, but there are a lot of other databases on the EBSCO OneSearch site. Some of them are specific to disciplines, specific disciplines in academics. You know, CINAHL, for example, is a really good one for nursing. Some of them are specific to grade level. There are a couple that are designed specifically for resources for K-12 teachers and students. There are just a whole bunch. There are a couple that are designed or put together specifically to help you find things in newspapers and magazines. So, you know, there are other databases, but the only way to familiarize yourself with the Mott Library databases is to spend time exploring them, which I'm sure is not really what you want to hear, but that's the truth. And so one final word on academic research: time. Academic research takes time, and the amount of time it takes often frustrates beginning researchers, leading to shoddy and underdeveloped work. And when it comes to research, budget for a lot of time to locate sources that you will find useful. If you take the time to research correctly, you will give yourself the chance to meet the requirements for a given assignment and produce work that is correct, thoughtful, and well developed. And additionally, you should always do your research before you begin your writing. And that is the end of this particular PowerPoint, which again can be found without my voice under the PowerPoints button to the left of the screen. So this week is throwing an awful lot of information at you, including this research information. And when you get into the Mott databases, I'm sure that you might be very confused about some things. There is a discussion board under discussion boards about questions. I will have to clarify that for you on the announcements page, but that's the place to ask questions. Also, I'm going to be scheduling some drop-in office hours, virtual office hours via Zoom this week. I will have those up on the announcements page as well. So if you have questions, then those will be the places to ask them, okay? So go through this again if you need to. I recommend not listening to my long rambling audio, and instead, if you really need to, go through the PowerPoint on your own. And then if you have questions, let me know, okay? Be well, and remember, wash your hands.